Episode 30.
Oh, of course it's episode 30.
Congrats.
Cheers.
What does that mean?
We just do a cheers for every episode at this point because we're like, yes, we did another
Cheers,
one.
we made it.
Cheers to Podcast Alice. To
Double digits.
Jedi Nicholas.
Let's start with a 3.
Yep. To Luna and Gary. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks everybody who's watching. Shout outs to our listeners, to also our Sugar Daddy community, our VIPs on Patreons.
Live long and prosper.
Cheers.
Cheers. So how's everybody feeling? How was your week?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Amy. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty good. It was a little strange.
Yeah. Little strange.
Energetically a little strange.
Yes, the energies are still shifting all around. Who's feeling
Yeah.
this?
I
Who's
am
feeling
feeling
this?
this.
I feel
Nick
like
is
the
feeling
world
this.
is so different. Maybe because like all of our lives have changed in notable ways recently, but also like feels like the whole world's changed. You know, we've been doing deep dives on a bunch of different topics and trying to sort out our priorities for the year.
Yeah.
Over
Get
here.
our fucking shit together.
Like, well, shit, we're able to do everything that we've ever dreamed of by just doing it. That's maybe the greatest lesson that we've gotten this year so
Yeah.
far. And we're like, oh shit, no, we can do everything that I hope y'all who are listening feel this way too, because that's the point of this podcast. So we're out here healing our traumas together. We're out here making good boundaries against toxic people. We're finding our purpose and we're failing. We're like failing and being fabulous together. And the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is black sheep, the concept of being not accepted by your family group. And I was like, this episode is going to be pure hot sauce fire. And so we're going to fucking do it. We're going to fucking do it. There's also a bunch of juicy subjects that we get into on the Patreon. If you're interested in going deeper with us in the House of Herbie, the Patreon community gets an extra episode every month called After Dark. So that's patreon.com/House of Herbie if you're interested.
And that came out today.
It came out today.
Yeah,
That's
it's
Oh
always
right.
my
God.
episode.
Thank
was
you,
that the nude
Podcast Alex.
episode?
Yeah.
What?
We weren't going to announce that, but yeah, it is.
Oh.
It's a new episode.
It's new.
Just surprise. No
Yeah.
disclaimer or anything.
Because we love hanging out with you, and we wanted a space, another space that's safe where people can even chat in the Discord, and they're actually getting like some perks that we didn't even tell them.
Yeah.
Like we're making custom aura sprays, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you get only the patrons had an opportunity to buy that first round." It's hard when you're making everything by hand. You know,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
sold out immediately, which is really
it did, and it
really
because
dope.
it is fucking cool. I do
So
like it. I
thank-
spray it on my face frequently.
It's
Yeah.
it actually is really energy loving ingredients, and it's not just for your face. It's like your energy field and your space. So if you've ever been curious what I use in the auric lenses, you know, maybe think about joining the Patreon because we do all this in-house, and so it does sell out fast. But yeah, this topic today is super near and dear to me. I wore a poofy black blouse in honor of the term black sheep, which is one of my favorite songs too that I ever worked on. And I just think there's a lot of people out there that oh wow, she's gonna eat the brownie. Luna, don't.
That's a total meltdown. She usually doesn't.
I feel like
Luna
Luna
just lunged for the brownie that was next door, and Alex had a heart attack.
Yeah, yep. And I feel like Luna, if you know, she is the black poodle.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes she does look like a sheep.
She
but her
sometimes looks like a black
personality
sheep.
is also giving black sheep energy. So we want to talk about
Oh,
what is
Luna.
this? What does this mean? And why is it such a scary subject? I know some people who are like, yeah, I'm the black sheep of the family. Like they're proud of it. I've noticed that a lot. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. And I wanted to do a deeper dive because I've been on my own journey of healing my inner child wound and like dealing with a family that was for a long time and still to some extent is not super accepting of what I do.
Not super stoked.
It's very, I just want to prepare you for this episode. It is heavy. If you're a black sheep and you want to really do some healing on this topic, we're going to jump into like the juiciest, most helpful shit that I've experienced. Cause I was just telling you guys today, I feel like I've actually come almost full circle on this topic.
I feel like you have too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And man, it is worth the work, babe. You are worth it. This is your safe space for self-discovery and bad bitchery. Both of those things would require you to face what it means to be a black sheep if this is indeed your archetype this lifetime. So the definition, Webster's dictionary says, a black sheep is someone who doesn't fit in with the rest of a group. So it's not just family. That's interesting. Someone who doesn't fit in with the rest of the group, often considered to be a troublemaker or embarrassment. I was like, wow, that's the definition?
Shame.
A troublemaker or embarrassment.
Nice.
So that's really hard to put your finger on because that's very subjective. Like, what does making trouble even look like? And what's embarrassing to whom?
AKA Podcast Alice.
Oh, yeah.
When you go against the grain.
Yes.
Against the grain.
So have
Splinter
you
in the
ever
bud.
felt this way? That's my first question.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I have,
Okay.
but it was not growing up.
Okay.
I actually got along really well with my family.
Great.
So it was a little bit of we had very different backgrounds.
So you could still be in the definition. It doesn't have to be
But-
with family.
But I have felt this way in music, you know, because there is kind of like a feeling in the music industry, like if you were not chosen or, you know, the one that is put on, you weren't in a studio recording by the time you were 14. It was like, you're like, sorry, kid.
Yeah. And if you're choosing to do things differently in the music business, people really do treat you like shit.
Yeah, or, you know, they just kind of don't acknowledge. Look, and I get it too. Everybody's busy. Everyone's doing your own thing. It's not that I'm complaining about it, but yeah, that's probably the way that I have felt it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And how about you, Alex?
Yeah, definitely growing up.
Okay. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
the same. I
'Cause
feel
you
like we
guys-
have a similar childhood wound.
Yeah, and I'll probably be asking you guys a bunch of
Nick will
questions.
be interviewing us.
Well,
Just
just because I'll have a different,
I
perspective.
think it's
on
just a little heavier when it's your own family, and we're about to get into why, right?
Okay.
So how do you know that you are the black sheep? Okay, so on my research, I found that it's this feeling of being an outcast. Okay, you're noticeably different from others in appearance, behavior, attitude, job prospects, moral, religious beliefs, or something else.
socks.
So you have different socks.
Usually, it's the weird socks. That's the dead giveaway.
Nice. You just don't fit. And even though you might try to fit in, your heart is not in it. And usually black sheep question everything. That's kind of an interesting. I was always like, wow, am I being just really rebellious? Which is kind of the title of rebel is often associated with black sheep, but it's like, am I just being an asshole? Like, I don't believe anything y'all are telling me, you know? You don't have to be like the worst in the family. Like the black sheep is not like the person that everybody thinks is the worst. You just have to stand out in a way that they don't like. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You don't even have to be bad.
Right.
You don't even have to like have gone to prison. They just might not like something about how you're living your life. It doesn't mean you're kicked out of the house. It can be as subtle as this unspoken understanding that still affects your mental health tremendously. So I just want to, it's a very wide net we're casting. It's like if you don't feel like you belong, even if they're not kicking you out at 18, it could still be just like this ongoing abuse cycle. And we're going to uncover why this happens and how you can overcome this. From my experience, it is very much overcomable.
Yeah, and it's taken you.
Years.
Yeah, what?
And on the other side of overcoming it is like this full artistic and life freedom
It's freedom.
that I
Yeah.
think you deserve as a creative if you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I can't imagine. That's if you fundamentally, because being brought up, you know, I mean, that's the root of everything that you know. I mean, the root of your cultural identity, I guess.
Your identity.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
So, it does, if that isn't who you are, that is a long road.
It's a long road. And it doesn't have to be. I think this podcast is really helpful if you have anybody you know, because I had a lot of people hit me up last week's episode saying, Queen, I sent this to like so many of my friends that I know are going through this. Like if you know somebody who's a black sheep of the family and they're having a hard time coping, please share this because we're going to give you a lot of facts and fun like tips that could be helpful. Some of these that I found in my research, some from personal experience. So you find it hard to connect with family members. You don't have much in common with them. This is a little bit of a shock.
Step 1, bring up politics at Thanksgiving.
You're right. Exactly. Hey, that's a kind of a dead giveaway. Something subtle that happens that I notice is like your siblings notice this dynamic pretty early. And if they're not on your team, they act as though your very existence is an insult. So that could be happening, not to everyone, but that's interesting, right? Because and we're about to get into it, but it's a survival thing. Like you are a threat to their safety.
To the pack.
By acting differently.
Yeah.
Yes. You're made to feel bad about the way you are, which is, holy shit, that's an entire identity crisis. Let's say you voiced an opinion or did something out of the ordinary and you got ostracized, criticized, or completely ignored. This is one that I got a lot. I would do something like amazing, like that was just not normal to do. And like, we don't talk about it.
Oh my God. It's still.
And I'm like, that is so fucked up.
It still kind of fucking blows my dick off that you were Born in Nebraska.
Right?
That's so crazy.
And then the emotional manipulation is kind of the more intense one that kind of harms the most over time. That's kind of what I was feeling about it, right?
Sure.
So
Probably the most creative dampening too.
you may know that you may find out you're a black sheep because you keep things to yourself a lot because you don't expect them to be interested or accept what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was like, oh, am I keeping secrets or am I just like not sharing anymore? Because
Is
I
there a
know,
difference?
because it's like, why?
Yeah.
Right? That's hurtful. They might use you as a scapegoat when something goes wrong. Like you're the family cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to end up like Queen, you know? So you might also know you're a black sheep because you're naturally headstrong and stubborn. I like this one. Because definitely I've been known to be pretty stubborn. And I was like, oh, I was always the rebellious soul.
Yeah.
Even like the Reiki healer I visited was like, oh, wow, you're a soul. Like she knew that she was going to come in here and just be bold as fuck. You might read a lot of books because you're seeking the truth. This is an interesting one. You might find out you're a black sheep because you are looking for answers. You were never satisfied with being told, well, it's this way because I said so. You don't like those answers. I was like, well, mommy, why do we have to go to church every Sunday? Well, because.
Yeah.
You want to know why. That might mean you're a black sheep because you're seeking. So all of a sudden the definition of black sheep is starting to feel more like, no, maybe we are like pushing, like we're trying to grow as humans. You know, I'm a little biased, but it's interesting. Your family may exclude you from events or information, even just emotionally, like your presence is more tolerated than welcome. Woo! That is...
Hello, darkness, mild. Oh, can we not sing that? Just kidding.
It's just a little bit.
Love you, Paul Simon.
Less than 3 seconds. You may find out you're a black sheep if you're feeling that you don't belong when... You're feeling you don't belong. Sorry, I'm reading notes because this is still shocking to me. Even though I've healed through it, I'm still like, wow, how ridiculous, right?
Are you noticing you're having a little bit of a reaction biologically?
In my body, I feel my heart rate speed up. I feel...
Do you still?
Yeah, I still do because it's not just about me now because I had so many folks, especially folks that listen to my song Black Sheep.
Yeah.
They were like, Queen, I get it. That's me. I relate so much to this. That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And so now I just get worked up for y'all.
Yeah.
Because if you're going through this, it's still fresh in my body. My nervous system, our nervous systems remember.
Still response. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex?
Alex over here sweating through his...
It's got a deep V sweat right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll
shaking.
move quickly into the solutions, but I just want you to know that feeling like you don't belong is like one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like if you don't feel you belong, like you're missing a fucking building block.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That is crazy when I understood like what it's like when you gotta like piss or shit.
right. It's like food,
All of a
shelter,
sudden-
sleep,
exactly.
safety.
It's like when you really
sense of belonging.
When you need water, that becomes the absolute first. Like if you don't get water, nothing else matters. Or if you really have to pee, like suddenly nothing else matters. It's the absolute, it's the base of the. So yeah, if you don't feel safe in your upbringing.
Well, let's just keep in mind that we're not alone because we're here together on this podcast talking about it. Even if you are triggered listening to this, you are facing it, which means you are going to be able to heal it.
It's a big deal. It's already a big deal.
And then imagine spending hordes of your own energy trying to convince these people that you don't relate to, spending all this energy trying to convince them that you've picked the best path for yourself.
Yeah.
Imagine how much energy you're spending trying to prove yourself. This is something I couldn't see when I was on the other side. I was like, no, the only thing that matters is the hierarchy of needs. I was like, I have to get them to be proud of me. I have to get this to happen. I've been able to figure out and get the answers to everything else except for this. So we're going to answer this for you. There is no need to prove yourself. They're entrenched in their beliefs.
Yeah.
It's not your job.
Yep.
Okay, let's try to see if we can use that energy for something better.
Their thoughts are not your business.
Correct. That's the hardest thing
But
to
that's
understand.
it's simple to say and very difficult to understand.
Because you want more than anything to have them believe in you and to be proud of you and to be happy for you and to accept and respect your choices, to just be fucking seen for who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for this? The origin of the phrase black sheep comes from the rare presence in a flock of white sheep of a sheep with black fleece. Rather than being a delightful surprise, these black sheep were a disappointment since their wool could not be dyed. They could not be made into whatever they wanted to be made into. They were who they were. No, that's bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bars. What I always think about with this shit is after reading all these fucking reincarnation stories,
Yeah.
when people are what they say is so crazy, and they across the board they all say the same thing. We come, apparently, again, what they're saying in hypnosis, we come to Earth in pods, okay, and your family is very rarely in your soul group.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they all say that? And why does everybody always feel this way? It tracks, it makes sense. And a lot of people don't feel like they belong in their own family.
Man, from that context is so helpful. I don't know what y'all's beliefs are, and we are not trying to tell you what to
It
believe.
helps, right? Even if it's just
But
a crazy story.
We're just giving you tools and hacks to get through this
Yeah.
mentally and spiritually, right? So these are people who should love and accept you for who you are. They are supposed to, right? Your family is supposed to love and accept you for who you are. So this is why this is such a dangerous thing, because the word should. They should do this. They should do that.
Yes.
We really can't be using the word should. You're trying to live up to their expectations creates perfectionism, low self-esteem, like low self-worth. Like there's a whole string of like neuroses that come from that rejection.
Yeah.
And you
Shit,
literally,
it's your bottom of your foundation is fucked.
Yeah.
How the hell are you going to build anything?
it's a deep wound. So a family is supposed to traditionally, a family in survival is a unit, like a force that can face rough and uncertain worlds together.
Wolves.
Yeah, wolves. We're supposed to protect each other. So it's like what you're feeling, this horrible, painful, deep wound is completely natural. This is totally understandable, right? So yeah, and like we said earlier, following the status quo is always easier. You can't, then you start to be like, oh, interesting. So it's like it's a survival thing that's unconscious. So your family may just be following the status quo because it's less friction. When you follow the rules, it's safer for all of them.
Dude.
It becomes too much energy for them to have to deal with your differentness.
One of the crazy stories in the Malcolm Gladwell book, Talking with Strangers,
Yeah.
the Amanda Knox story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story. I wasn't, but she was arrested wrongfully
Right.
was it in Italy, and held, was it like a couple years or something? For like her roommate got murdered or something. And because she didn't act the way that usually a roommate of someone who got murdered would act, they immediately were like, oh, okay, it's her. Because she didn't act the way that society had taught her to act.
Right.
And that became dangerous for her in that situation, which is why people fall in line.
Yes.
Because there are examples of people that
many examples. Yeah.
many examples, like if I act different, it becomes dangerous for me,
Shit.
or at least the risk of that potentially happening.
Yeah.
It's wild. No, and he gives like the whole history of like how that event came to happen. And it's crazy. It's a really fascinating case study.
Yeah. And this is why racism is so dangerous too. And what I'm about
It's
to
complicated. It's
Yeah.
just it's such a bizarre complication of humans trying to figure their shit out.
this is exactly in line with what I was about to say is when you make it more difficult for people because your existence is so different and they have to like try to manipulate you, fight with you, give you the silent treatment and shame you. That's their only power to get you in line. Their priority is survival. Then it's not to love you.
Right.
That's not loving someone.
Right.
And it's not love. It's actually unresolved trauma in your family. This is they talk about like generational trauma. Like if you're the black sheep of the family, you're healing generational trauma if you so choose to take this mission.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's handed down for generations and no one is questioning why. Some families are healthy and most are dysfunctional in some capacity. So what's like some families, okay, Nick's family grew up and you would like go to church on only Christmas and Easter or something, right? So these are harmless traditions that are followed for like fun. It's like, oh, it's a tradition. Like we go because grandma goes, right?
Right.
There's some families where it's like a strict religious belief system with lots of shame, expectations. And this is the same sort of hard-headedness that is where we find bigotry and racism. They're unwilling to change and they're not questioning why. So that's why that's dangerous to me. So if you are identifying yourself as a black sheep of your family, congratulations, you've had the courage to step away from those unconscious belief systems and try to change it, much to your own dismay, because now they're abusing you for threatening their safety because they don't have the courage.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't be mad at them for not having the courage. You can't
It's
force someone into courage.
It's not your choice, not your business.
It's not your business. No.
Yeah.
It's funny. Also, in all of these fucking spiritual books and all this consciousness shit that I have been reading the last couple fucking like 5-10 years, whenever you find yourself using the word should, you're always going to find yourself suffering.
Every time.
It's the word should entails that it should be different, and that will always suffering will always arise if that's the case. So like this, I should be I should be taller, I should be skinnier, I should be more famous, I should be more wealthy. Any of these those thoughts are in themselves saying that reality should be different, and it never will be.
My parents should love me the way I am. That's funny because, babe, if I'm talking to a black sheep right now, you had enough courage to not say, I should go to college to do what my mom did. I should stay home forever and never move to LA where I have my dream. I should, you had enough courage to overcome those shoulds. Mm-hmm. This is just one last final difficult should that we just have to overcome. Mm-hmm. So the traditional, this is really interesting. Somebody had noted an article about respect, right? So the right to be respected, because now we're talking about now we're angry, right? We're like, why the fuck why don't you love me? Traditional American value that I noticed exists is that the child is seen and not heard, right? So the child respects the parent or they receive punishment. Only recently has it become popular in like parent culture and like parenting for you to show respect to a child.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like we've just
treat them like a little person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't talk to them different. Don't because in the past, if you just like abused and forced the child to respect the parent, which again, who gave you
Well, you're
the authority? Like,
I feel like that's going to cause resistance 100% of the time.
But you know what does happen is the child never learns the value of respect because they never received it. So they don't even know that.
Oh, no.
Isn't that wild?
It keeps going.
Whoa. And they develop neuroses and low self-worth. So thankfully that's changing. But isn't that interesting? It's like, if you never give them what you're asking them to give you, how are they ever going to fucking know what that means?
Yeah.
And so now they're finally changing that, and we're seeing it have a huge impact on kids' lives.
Yeah.
So that's good. But it is easy to see how black sheep are born when the family dynamic doesn't have that. They don't value that mutual respect for others' ideas, beliefs, and choices. So that was the issue. That's why we feel like we don't belong. Like if your parents never were like, hey, honey, how do you feel about this? They were like, shut up and listen to me. I'm right. That was the issue. Probably
because they never, that's what they learned. They're doing the best that they can. It's deep. It's never their fault.
Here it comes. So how do we deal with it? So the one exercise I got was that you should pretend it's a movie. I don't know if you're able to do this, because if you're in the throes of like having a toxic relationship with your family and you're like, how do I remove myself from emotional ties here? And pretend you're watching a movie. And start to get curious when you're looking at your parents or your family members or whatever, and you're like, why are they behaving in this way? You're not tied to them anymore. It's just a movie. You're trying to understand the characters, right? What was their upbringing like? Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Have you ever asked them?
Yeah. Maybe they never talk about it.
What are
Maybe there's a reason.
What these characters in this movie that you're watching and you're unattached to, what are they so deeply unhappy about?
Yeah.
And what's below all the pain that explains how they treated you? It's always fear and regret, from my experience.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're afraid and they are regretting not going after what it is that you're going after, and you triggered them.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But that's the most powerful tool, is being able to, again, siphon it off, put some space around it, pretend it's a movie. You just hit play and you're like, wow, who are these people? Wow, her hairstyle's a little strange. Why is she acting this way? To the child, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, so maybe they went through some shit. And then you start developing space to possibly begin to forgive them. Because if you decide, and this is your choice, I'm not telling you have to do this, but if you decide to forgive them, it puts you in the driver's seat all of a sudden. You took the high road. You're immediately the high player.
Yeah.
When you forgive someone like that for the way that they're acting unconsciously, you're all of a sudden like the fucking goddess queen of the situation. That's really hard to do because you are, again, this little child that was like never respected or whatever, and you don't understand why don't they should love me. And then you're like, actually, I'm just going to step over here and observe it, and I'm going to forgive them. And then all of a sudden you're like observing it from above now. So it becomes a little bit more fun.
It lightens it. It lightens the situation.
Yeah.
Dude, so, okay. Left Turn. Have you guys watched that show Succession?
It's a great one about this,
It's
actually.
so intense. Yeah, it's a great one about this.
But they never go into his parents, what his parents experience.
No, they show one scene.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Whenever there's a couple scenes where they bring up like about like swimming or something, and they're like, no, Dad doesn't swim. So Dad doesn't know the show. It's a show based on
This
like a
billionaire media titan.
Media titan, right? And
Who's got a bunch of kids.
Who's got 4 kids, and one of them doesn't like really do. He's not really part of like the family business. And the other 3 are all vying for the dad's job, and it's just this toxic, fucked up, abusive situation. And they're all just like they're all hard to root for, and it's all awful. But they talk about there's a few scenes where they talk about swimming, and they're everything like Dad doesn't swim. You know, they're referring to the media titan guy who's getting old and having like signs of dementia and shit. Clearly needs to, but he just can't let it go. And so there's this one scene, they show him swimming like by himself with his wife, like standing at the edge, just watching him swim back and forth with a robe whenever he's done so he can get out and she can put it on him. Without his kid's knowledge, he's slowly doing doggy paddle back and forth, and he gets out, and there's all these scars on his back.
Okay. That tells us
That's
enough.
the only time that they subtly hint on what he had to deal with. He probably feels like he's treating his kids with the most love and admiration ever.
Okay. What beautiful storytelling is that?
Exploding, just fucking exploding with love to his kids in comparison to what he received. It's the only shot they give that gives you a hint at what he went through when he grew up.
Interesting.
Is that crazy?
Very interesting.
Pretty crazy. It was great storytelling.
That was an excellent reference, though. If
Thank
you haven't
you.
seen the show and you have you got to have a pretty like thick skin. It's intense, but
It's not for everybody.
I really liked it, and I don't like crazy intense emotional shows, but
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by like wealth culture and people of.
And it's interesting. I brought this show up to a bunch of like our friends of color, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm not interested in watching more white people just be like,
rich.
just be the most fucking ungrateful, toxic,
Absolutely.
rich people." And I was like, "Wow, that is a perspective I did not have."
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, fascinating. It
is.
It's so fascinating. So you never know what somebody's been through, and we're all just out here trying to survive, essentially, is what
everybody.
this is.
That's what makes it so deliciously complicated.
Yes. So specifically, those of you that feel like black sheep, once again, we're gonna now switch up and come up with these solutions that are gonna help you understand your situation better, possibly, and then maybe give you some of that space to do some of that forgiveness. And it's gonna take time. I don't expect you to listen to this episode and be healed, and now you're healed. I'm like one of those
Congratulations.
ladies in the show where they
Come on down.
they throw you backwards and you accept the Holy Spirit.
Drew Carey shows up.
So the first thing is human nature. Okay. So we covered this. Survival causes them to marginalize those who act or look differently. That's just something we see across culture. Every issue has something to do with that. It's human nature.
Any human experience.
It's like a fear of things we don't understand. It's not that you're better than them or they're better than you. It's just this survival bullshit, human nature shit. So
Yes.
boom, there's your first excuse. All right. Number 2, a piece of advice. Okay. Have you ever heard of chosen family? Is this a phrase that everybody says now?
Oh yeah,
Chosen
I think I have.
family, soul
Yeah.
family, tribe, right? Seek support from people who love and accept you as you are. All of a sudden, you're going to feel way fucking better about whatever the fuck is happening,
Yeah.
right? Because the people who are like you are out there. And rather than investing all that energy and time, babe, into like trying to convince somebody who you don't even relate to that to accept you, who has like, come on. it's a better investment of time to invest in the people that do love you. And it's super, super normal and common now to have chosen family. Like we spend holidays with some friends here in LA, and like we do Thanksgiving with another group. And it's like, just be there for them too. It's not just a one-sided thing either. Like, oh, they love and support me. It's like, also you should do that for someone else, because remember the respect thing. It's a give and take. And as you're emerging from like this toxic family environment, just beware of narcissists, because you also may have turned into a people pleaser along the journey. And so as you're establishing your new groups, just be wary of folks that may see that, like, because they're magnets to this shit. They'll know if your family like doesn't accept you, and they'll be like, jackpot. So just watch out. Look for people that actually love and support you as who you are and make you feel good.
Yeah. Without the narcissist
period
love bombing.
But be careful. Yeah.
Cycle.
Because those people had a whole different outcome. Yeah. They're also many times black sheep. And so you might bond over that, but it's not worth getting abused in another way. And maybe as you uncover this, you'll have, because one of these is boundaries, right? So we're about to get to it. Number 3, flip it. So this is something I try to do with writing a song called Black Sheep, is like, try to realize that your experiences as black sheep made you resilient and independent. Okay? Compassionate. It made you more compassionate towards outcasts. What have you learned from this situation, of this like super awkward and very sad situation? Being left out of toxic relatives' lives actually saved you in a way.
Right.
You don't need their approval or acceptance to feel whole. It's still painful, but you can still be grateful for what it taught you.
Yeah.
Now it's
not fucking easy though. None of this shit is fucking easy.
None of it's easy, but there are silver linings, and you're like, damn, actually I'm a badder bitch because of this somehow.
Every time.
So yes, again, back to the boundaries. This one is really important, because what I noticed when I was going through the healing cycle with my family is I was like, oh man, I have to just like try to get them to convince them. And then I noticed like, okay, I'm not going to share with them as much as I want to share with them, because it's like I'm going to get this like silence, or like this, they don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So it is important to protect your mental health and close the channels of communication off a little bit if you're like feeling that.
Yeah.
I noticed that helped. Like there was a period where I just didn't talk to them as often as I was healing. That's okay, babe. And then some of you who are in very toxic situations may need to cut it off completely, which is also okay, babe. That is entirely okay. Emotional distance is super important for you to get your bearings on who you are, because this whole time your identity has been fucked by these people who you don't even relate to.
Yeah.
It's like, you deserve to take some space. I promise, like, it's going to be okay.
You're trying so hard to get someone who you don't like or respect or really know to like you.
Yes. But
because it's complicated.
But they should.
Genetically,
that
you
word
share
again.
their material.
But they should. Yeah, but they should.
And they should. Well,
and they made sure that you survived life up to this point. So
but they should.
Yeah.
Again, that's going to cause every time that's going to cause suffering.
Yes.
But they should love you. So then Byron Katie would be like, is it true? They should love you?
No, they definitely don't have to.
And then the follow up to, is it true? Do you
and
absolutely know that it's true?
Is what I realized too, is they do love you, but they can't love you in these ways because of these other things that they have not resolved, right?
Yeah.
So
it's not about you at all.
Right. So let's say you did cut off all the communication, or you're just taking less time. You're spending less time around these people, and you may need to grieve. Like, that's a big one. They were like, at this point, it might be healthy to get a therapist, because there's a whole like schedule of steps that you take to heal. Once you're basically grieving the loss of your family at this point. You're looking at your expectations and you're being realistic,
wild.
And you're like,
fuck, dude, that's heavy.
I took one therapy session with somebody who told me, you will never get their approval. Yeah. She said, let it go. She's like, I love your enthusiasm. They're going to die with their approval.
Damn.
They're going to take that with them to the grave. You'll never get it.
And
it was almost like a relief healing.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't that feel lighter?
Hearing that from an unbiased third party, I was like, oh.
It kind of gives you permission now
to grieve. And so she was like, they may slowly come around in like a half-assed way. And that's literally why I may never come around. Right. But they might not.
Yeah, they really might not.
So protect your heart.
Protect your heart.
You shit
on my heart.
Yep. It's heavy. It's heavy. So again, a therapist is really helpful because there are stages that you go through. It's not linear. You have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. You might jump around. Like, it takes a minute, you know, but it's worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah. For you, I mean, for both of you guys, I mean, you grew up in very, conservative places of the country, very traditional places.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this a long time because I remember I was with you for a lot of, there was one particular time, we don't need to get super messy,
Oh, messy mess.
but, even with Carmen, very tame Carmen in our eyes,
No
there was
cursing.
there was no swearing.
Right.
I was sober most of the time.
It was still not enough though.
crazy shit.
It still wasn't, I still wasn't good enough. It was still like,
Well, there was I think first was the Brokenhearted. So we used to, if anybody doesn't know, we used to have a pop band called Carmen.
Right.
Okay. And then we had a big old-fashioned radio hit
Oh, yeah.
called Brokenhearted that they always called Heartbroken. Whenever they introduced the song, we were like, God damn it, you had one
Achy,
job.
breaky heart.
love that. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
But there was a music video that came out and you were wearing some like,
I was wearing a Dolce & Gabbana
90,
bodysuit. I was so
some
excited
shit,
about it.
right?
I was
Yeah.
like, Dolce & Gabbana is like some of the most beautiful bodysuits. It was like contoured to my body exactly. And I never felt beautiful like that before. And I was just in a bedroom scene and I had these like long, beautiful sheer blinds. And I was just singing my hit pop song. And I remember it was a whole phone call
it was
trying.
a 4-hour phone call after it came out about, I don't know if we can support you.
We're so disappointed in your choices.
And I'm kind of there just kind of being like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck are we talking about?
You were probably like you were listening to a conversation in Japanese.
Well, kind of, but at the same time, like, I was trying to understand everybody's side and everything and at least, hear them out. And
We were on like radio. I was in radio promo with my husband in a hotel room. And it was just
I think we were in like upstate New York or Pennsylvania.
But
somewhere.
I know the
Harrisburg or something.
generation before my parents, like they were like never ever show your breasts or curves of
Right.
any kind. If you're a size small, wear a size large just to be safe.
And this is an interesting thing to me about regional cultural changes too, because if you're a traditional culture, then it is part of your culture to not change. So that means as the outside world continues to kind of like accelerate at a rate, and look at what's happening politically with being woke and quote unquote whatever. It's like if it is in your cultural DNA to stay the same and honor tradition and, do all this stuff, then as the world changes, then all of a sudden like, and even in Maine, there's a lot of this too. It can feel like in 1980, it still felt like the 1950s.
Right.
In, 2020, it still feels like 1990,
Yeah.
and you start having this big divide.
Yeah.
And this ripping apart of like,
And meanwhile,
culture, really.
meanwhile, we're touring and seeing the world, and our minds are opening, and we're so compassionate, and we have each other, and it's like this beautiful thing, and it's still
we're together. We're having we're in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, it's like unheard
you know what
of.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's super unheard of.
We were like making money for the first time. It was very
You
exciting.
guys are looking at this the wrong way.
It was very
But
exciting, but it was heartbreaking to not be able to take them with me. That was hard. It was like got everything I wanted, and then I was like, oh, but you can't bring them. They're not ready for this. They don't want to do this.
I'm sorry about
And
that.
that's okay. I had to learn that was okay. Like, no, really, like let it go. It's not your business,
It's not.
but it does take time. I mean, it's literally now taking years, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I remember all those phone calls. SNL was another one.
SNL was another. That was really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
So-
it was usually about the outfit. Like they didn't want anyone to see my body.
Yes.
That made them very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I wonder, I can only imagine. It's not my business. I can only imagine like the kind of trauma that must have led to that belief system.
Yeah.
Because I don't even have like the body that, I see. I'm like, I don't even show my body really in comparison, right?
Right.
I'm wearing like a giant balloon blouse right now, talking
Yeah,
about being
yeah,
the
yeah.
black sheep of the family. So you don't know. You just
Consciousness
don't.
and shit.
Again, it may
It's
not.
the devil's lettuce.
It may feel like you can't understand it, and that's why it's just important to bring that forgiveness in. If you bring the forgiveness in and you're like, oh, this is like an unhealed trauma, they don't, especially if they're twice your age, if your parents are older than you or your family or uncles, aunts, grandparents, whoever you're having trouble with. This could even be groups, and like Nick was saying, in the music industry or whatever. You don't know what their experience has been and what they've had the courage to face yet.
Yeah.
It's not your business.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. But what is your business is being authentic. This is my next tip. Do not water yourself down for anyone. That's the biggest thing I learned. I'm spending all my time now trying to discover who I am, because I spent all this time trying to cater to somebody who is not like me. It's so wild. I'm so passionate about this topic, because if you start living in your authentic self, you're going to help other black sheep feel less alone. You might write the song that helps people move through these stages of grief.
Yeah.
You know?
And we always talk about this, but there is a new fucking fight. It's a new world now, kids. It really is. And it's only going to keep accelerating faster. And there's never been a better time to be able to do these things, or to be able to have the trust that you will find your own tribe, than today. Because the accessibility, all of it, they're in the way that people are able to put themselves out there now and be very real about who they are. Like, we have done incredible strides and gains, you know, but and a lot of people look at it as not advancement. They look at it as going back the other way, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's not. But in my opinion,
Right. It's not your business what they think.
but that's not my business what
Right.
they think. Yeah. But it's just a very interesting time. And I do highly encourage you, anybody listening who's going through some hardship, like, there has never been a better time than in today's world
Yeah.
to be able to figure this shit out.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there's this wonderful feeling, like, once you surrender this thing of, like, it's not my business, like, they have unhealed trauma, I can't do anything about this, and you let them be who they are, and you create that space that you need to then discover yourself for the first fucking time. You start finding your tribe, and you're like, wow, these people love me for who I am. Those who don't, they don't want you to hide who you are. Like, they're like, oh my God, they want more juice and sauce. They're like, please, queen, share with us. What is the craziest thing you did today? I would love to hear about it. You know, I don't think
Skipped my
parents ever asked me that question, you know. It's just it's operating from a different source. It's like, when they're still operating from fear, all you can do is give them love. Once you really come around on this and you're like, damn, all right, cool. But there is that, you know, that's what the song Black Sheep is about, is when I was in the throes of it, I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah. And it feels like the world is ending.
Spend some time there.
If you let go of having a relationship with them, at that point, if you really can, then any relationship with them at all is bonus. Yeah. And it's so complicated. And I don't personally know exactly what this feels like, and I can only imagine the fucking
But you were on the 4-hour phone call.
stress. Well, exactly. No, you're right. I guess I kind of do. You know, I didn't grow up with it, but I did experience the
And it's not just me.
verbiage.
It's not just
and
my experience. This
no,
is like,
it's not. This
like
is not.
millions of people have this.
Yes,
I mean, my song
totally.
Sugar Daddy was trending in India this week. And I was like, oh, fuck. That's got to be intense.
I know. And if
I feel like India is
if
super
Carmen-
conservative, right?
Well, you thought Carmen was intense.
Yo.
Hello, Queen Herbie.
Yeah, it's like, hey, so like, you know, I can't really call home now and be like, hey, my biggest song is about sex work.
What's up, bitches?
Yeah, it's not really, but you can just omit things and you can say, I'm really loving my life, and, you know, let them know everything's okay. And
My favorite cannabis strain
I
is
love-
sativa.
I love, you know, when you feel like the black sheep, even the music industry, I love like thanking people that helped me get to where I am, even though it was like a really toxic ride.
Yeah.
I love thanking my family for teaching me these values that I got a lot of use out of. You start to flip it and you start to be in that position of power. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, now the world is yours. That's a wonderful feeling, but it is, wow. It's a distinct journey. And self-care was like my best friend when I discovered that, like, I can consciously like take time for myself and take care of me, because you're going to have to do some inner child healing. You're going to have to find out what 7 and 8-year-old you was shut off about, you know, like when you were shamed or guilt ridden about something that you wanted to do, you're going to have to go back and find her or him or her, the 7-year-old you. And you're going to have to say, hey babe, let's do it now. I'm supporting you.
Was it about 7 or 8 for you too?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very pivotal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
So the last life hack for being the black sheep of the family is my favorite one. Self-care. Oh, we love her. You need to be the parent, record label executive, blah, 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 that you wanted, right? So if you didn't get the family that you wanted, you have to become that for yourself, right? You're forging ahead in a world where your family doesn't support you. You've been traumatized. You have an inner child wound. So this is a perfect opportunity to then say, all right, bitch, you're a bad bitch. Let's go get some expensive lotions and creams and some bubble bath. Let's do some meditations. Let's learn about Ayurveda. Let's, just dive into, I'm going to start a beading hobby, right? You start healing your inner child by doing some of these things that maybe someone told you that wasn't a real job, or you start taking back your power through self-care. And I know it's like silly rituals with silly trinkets and whatever the fuck. If you need like face roller thing, I got one of those jade face rollers. I don't know. It's cool.
I don't know. Sure. Feels cool.
Okay.
Feels nice and chilled.
It feels nice and chilled. You want to learn how to bake?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start a girls' night or a book club?
Oh, I got to learn how to read.
That is called self-care, and that is highly recommended, because the less time you can spend isolating and being like, my life is horrible, no one understands me, like, just no.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Yeah, to me, anytime doing any of that shit, it allows you to at least it allows me to slow down the outside world and just go in. And every time you do that, there aren't problems.
Period. Meditation is really helpful too, because then you can kind of put that space around yourself.
Putting space.
And be like, oh, wow, I really do care about them accepting me. I still have some work to do.
Yeah. And then, again, that's okay too.
But you'll feel
And
it.
even if you are in the suffering, like the only way you really change is from suffering.
The only way you change is from
supper.
Supper time.
The only way one changes is from supper.
Okay. If you identify as a black sheep, baby, you're a weirdo, and we love you. Yeah. And we are here with you in the weirdo pool, and we're swimming around. We're embracing it.
Yep. Lots of chlorine, and nobody's peeing.
Nobody's peeing. We're forging our own path. We're listening to our inner voice. We're choosing what's right for us. We're using the letting go technique, which is super helpful for this. Oh, shit. The letting go technique is helpful for everything, but like this especially, right? You're going to have some heavy ass moments. I want you to locate it in your body. I want you to sit with it. I want you to see like your 7-8-year-old self. And I want you to be like, hey, babe, what are we doing today? We going to the zoo? Like,
I don't know, maybe a bike ride.
Take care of them. Take care of that little you. Because once you stop fighting it, once you stop fighting being this reject, you have freedom. And the freedom comes from being this black sheep archetype.
Well,
I think my songs that I write are all these messages. It's like, you chose to be a black sheep. Like, we think maybe your soul chose it, and you come here and you're like, you forget that you chose it, and you're like, oh, fuck, this is horrible. But you're not the same as everyone else. That's a value point to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be the same as everyone else. You're a one of one.
Yeah.
Okay. You think differently. You tolerate new ideas better than everyone else. You're willing to try anything, bitch. These are all the benefits of being black sheep.
Yeah.
You're more compassionate and more
very true.
empathetic.
After the Band-Aid was ripped off with a lot of these phone calls, you were like, well, shit, if I'm playing it safe and still not getting acceptance.
Period.
What the fuck am I playing it safe for then?
Period.
Why am I still trying to hide?
Yo.
And then you had freedom.
Yes. And then every time I encounter people that have experienced this, I have so much compassion and empathy for them, because I know how rejection feels.
Yeah.
Okay? It takes real intelligence to become curious, to seek something different from the rest of the herd. Okay? There is every scientist ever would be like, yeah, the black sheep has to be smarter and more brave than everybody fucking else. That's so tight. Congratulations, bitch.
Yeah.
It takes courage to follow your heart. And we need your fucking art. And now I'm rhyming and Luna's got the farts.
She does. It's intense over here.
I gave her such a small piece of hamburger.
Why?
I don't know. We're trying to eat less and less meat.
Yeah.
I actually don't even like meat.
It's kind of been just like sometime dinner time only these days.
It's just available. It's more available than every other food. Once again, we need more black sheeps to come out here and do things differently. Yeah. If you feel like an outcast, you are the source of inspiration for things getting better all the fucking time.
Yeah.
That's how I really feel about it.
And we could probably do a whole other episode of just examples of people that influence the entire fucking planet that were black sheeps.
Everything I do and all of my time, I'm like, damn, I just keep uncovering I'm more and more dope than I thought yesterday. Every day I'm like, damn, oh, damn. Even when I have those like second guessing thoughts or I feel like getting down on myself and saying negative things, I'm just like, no, bitch, you're the shit, actually. And as a black sheep, you learn how to get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
No matter what happens every single day, you're like, oh, yeah, but I survived, this, and I did that. And I still, I've healed this now to the point where like I do have a relationship with my family. I can proudly say like I know my boundaries. I know what they want to hear, what they don't want. I know what's my business and what's not.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad actually.
Yeah.
They can choose to come around if they want to on their own time. And
yeah, it's their choice.
Even if they don't, like there's literally almost nothing left in me that cares about that. Yeah. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for you because you're magnificent and we need your art. If it's distracting, you're spending all this energy trying to get acceptance from people like that. It's just the wrong dynamic. That's all. It's not even personal. It's like, no, we just need to shift the scales back over.
Yeah.
To like, you're in power. If you can forgive them so that you're in the power seat, you're the queen now. Maybe that's why I called myself Queen Herbie.
Totally. Power versus force, man.
The self-worth.
This explains the shit out of this too.
It had to be, the self-worth has to be on 11.
Yeah.
And then you can do whatever the fuck you want. And then you literally just have compassion and forgiveness for everybody else.
Yeah. No, you did. You know what? Congratulations. You really did fucking go all the way through the, what do they call it? Dante's Inferno situation.
Dante's Inferno.
And you came out, man. You really did. Props. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not an easy task.
It's not easy, but also I was lucky to have a support system. Thank you for being with me through this. Alex has been with me through a lot of this too. We share a lot of similarities with this, so we've been able to talk about it and process, integrate it. A lot of my friends, actually, I found my soul group.
Yeah,
I found my chosen family, and there's so many. I should just make a list. Like they all helped me understand. Like there's other people who are dads and moms who are like, no, but we love who you are. Of course, they didn't have to be my mom or my dad. They didn't have to actually be my parent, right? So it was easier.
Easy for them to say.
Yeah, that's an easy job. So wherever you can, support other black sheep because you know how this feels. And I already know that you will because our community here at House of Herbie is so lit and everybody wants this. Is what we're into.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning in. If you're a black sheep, we're sending all of our love to you and all of our empathy and compassion and just encouraging you to keep exploring what this means and how much of a badder bitch you are than you even thought.
There are answers.
There are answers. There are solutions.
There are ways out.
And you're going to get to a point where you really do understand your worth. And we're so grateful to be here with you. We'll be back next week with another hot topic. See you then.